Oh, here we are, Nooch Vegan Market. We're going to go check out Nooch Vegan Market and talk to Joshua LaBure, who's a co-owner of Nooch Vegan Market. And we're going to find out about veganism and why he does what he does. This is That Good TV. Come with me. So, veganism is 1% of the population, roughly.
Yeah, maybe less.
And we're not trying to we don't hurt anyone being a vegan. So why does veganism have so much negativity connected with it? Why are people so mad about it?
I don't know, with any social movement, whenever you're trying to question people's like ideas and things like that, people get defensive. And I think that whenever you try to question people's ideas with what they're eating, that's just like a whole another level, because we eat every day. It's so ingrained in every single culture. And it's just something we have to do for basic survival.
And it's pleasant.
Yeah, and it's a pleasant experience, and I think that whenever you try to like question like what people's, something so basic as eating, whenever you try to question that it's like really hard not to get defensive. I mean, I know I used to get very defensive, and that's why I try to be like, I try not to like preach, I guess, you know what I mean? I more so just want to have the conversation. I'm just interested in like talking about why we do things, and especially like with our everyday things, like why do we do anything, and I think that I think that's why I focus on veganism, is because it's such a huge thing, and it's such like a
impacts.
Yeah, and it impacts like every single like facet of our lives. It impacts our health, it impacts the environment, animals, just everything. So yeah, and I think that it's just, I don't know, it's really hard to like tell people that something that I have a fundamental disagreement, something that they do 3 times a day. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's not that I'm trying to like be judgmental or anything. It's just that I have come to this specific conclusion, and I'm interested to know why some people aren't coming to that conclusion, or why they are. So
yeah, and more like a scientist, not to.
I just like having conversations,
and that's interesting.
And I feel like even just like ordering food, or just owning a vegan store, just like opens me up to like people kind of wanting to like attack, and I don't know if attack's the right word, but probably is. But people just like immediately jump to you, to kind of question everything that you're doing. And I think that, and I'm totally fine with it. Some people aren't as fine with it, but I actually really enjoy it. So
I love the way that you guys do the outreach or the activism.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me how you do that activism.
Well, I think with plants and animals, when we started like 2.5 years ago, we kind of like, I think we originally talked like, let's do positive activism. Let's try to do this in a way where we're sharing food, where we're kind of coming at it rather than you're doing something wrong, like look at this other way of doing things. And I think that's really important with any social movement, with any different ideas, rather than like being preachy and rather than, being super militant. I think it's really better to just be pragmatic and just talk to people and kind of like have conversations and find different ways to introduce ideas. And I think sharing food is like the best way to do it.
Well, and that's a good point, because I want to talk about you have Chomp, CHOMP, that is the big dinner that you have once a month.
Yeah.
And it's very well attended. When I went, there were like 300 people there.
Yeah.
And tell us how you do that, and how do you get all that big food out there, and they do pay for it, but they pay a donation sort of thing.
Exactly. Well, we have, fortunately, when we first started, it was me and Mark. We were paying for everything out of pocket, and we were helping make the food. We had like 4 of us making food, and it was a really big undertaking, because the first one we had like 25 people, and by the third one we had 70. So it's pretty crazy. But now we just have a huge, not huge, but we have a good number of people that volunteer to cook. Our friend Melanie, she's our head chef. She pretty much does everything, getting the volunteers together, getting the menu together. And I basically don't do anything but
And you
promote
have a
it now.
you have a different theme
Yeah, we do a
every
different theme every month. So.
every month. And
Yeah.
tell us some of them, because they're always have such interesting titles.
We have Rawgist, which is a recurring one.
Which is raw food.
Yeah, which we always do raw. And then we've had Southern food nights. We do, last night actually it was when we had Chomp, which is the first Wednesday of the month. We had Mayan, kind of to celebrate the end of the Mayan calendar on December 21st. So it was Goodbye Cruel World.
Oh, right.
So, which could also be viewed as going vegan, goodbye cruelty to animals.
So, and that's very well attended. And I think the amazing thing about those are that the food is so delicious.
Yeah.
Most people think that being a vegan is, well, what do you eat? I mean, don't you get that a lot? Well,
yeah, definitely.
What do you eat? Well, clearly from your store, there's more things literally more diversity than you'd see in the major supermarkets.
Yeah, I think so.
That you literally can't get there.
Yeah.
And it's the most delicious food. Less chemicals, I'd say.
Definitely.
Because it's the whole conscientiousness about what you're putting in your body.
Definitely.
And how it affects you.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's like a old way of kind of being vegan, which kind of got vegans a bad rap, I think. Which was basically like these people that would just like be vegan and they would just eat French fries and drink Pepsi and that's it. And then they were like anemic and stuff, and then people were like, "Oh, vegans are anemic and they don't eat anything but fries." And then I'm like, there's thousands of fruits and vegetables. We only eat like something like less than a percentage of the edible known foods in the world, like the edible known plants. And I don't know, it's an adventure. There's always
Americans only eat 1% of the
less than 1% of the known plants that we can eat, and there's just such a diversity. There's new fruits and vegetables to try all the time. There's
I love one of the thds that you have that you can't get at even Whole Foods or anywhere is the punk rock cheese.
Yeah, I love the punk rock cheese. It's a cashew-based raw cheese, and it's actually cultured. There's only 4 ingredients, and it's insanely delicious. It has like the texture of brie. It tastes like cheese.
Oh my God! Well, this a man just came in and bought a whole stack, and he's coming back.
Yeah.
So, how did you come to have a vegan food market?
Well, I started working at a large natural food chain,
which will go unnamed.
Like 5 years ago, and during the time working there, like before that, I never thought about where my food came from, and so I read Fast Food Nation while working there, and I started meeting all these people that were like really like conscious about what they were eating. I met vegans for the first time, so I just started really getting into organics.
Well, and I think it's interesting. At that time, you were only eating fast food.
Yeah, pretty much.
and you didn't really see it. Just it seemed right to you. So you started working in this natural food store.
Exactly, and then I got to a point where as long as it wasn't McDonald's, it was fine. Which we know that that's not the case, and so I don't know, I've always had this like drive to like start my own thing like while working there and stuff like that. And during that time I went vegan and started wanting to open a store that just catered to vegans, catered to everyone, but specifically had vegan products essentially.
Because it's hard to read all the labels, and there's some words that you don't know. If you don't know, you have to read every single thing.
Yeah, and then you just like, I'll be looking through magazines, I'll be, I want to try this, where do I get that? And there's nowhere in Colorado that has it, or where do I get this? And, once again, nobody in Colorado has it. So it's kind of like a game trying to figure out like what you can eat, stuff like that. So
a big part of veganism is the environmental part of it.
Yeah. I definitely like to talk about that side of it a lot because, even the UN came out numerous times and said that the number one cause for global warming pollution is the meat and dairy industry.
Meat and dairy.
Yeah, and then, because like raising cattle is like very intensive, environmentally intensive.
How so?
We use like, I think 80% of our soy, 90% of our corn, 70% of our wheat, essentially to feed to cattle. And all of that is being filtered through animals to make, cheap food is being filtered through animals to make expensive food. And And I think that's a really huge part of it. The amount of water that goes into it is huge. The amount of land that goes into it is huge. It's the number one cause of deforestation in the Amazon.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't know. It's really, really crazy how big it is and how not talked about it is, especially within the environmental movement. I always want to see Greenpeace out there going like, look, try to go vegetarian one day a week or something like that. But, it's really interesting.
Because even that would help a lot.
Yeah,
To just
it would.
cut down.
Yeah, just cutting down, like, that would make a huge difference. I don't know, there's this, like, graphic that I saw once, and it was like, a meat eater on a bicycle has more of an environmental impact than a vegetarian in a Hummer. And I think that's really interesting, because it's true, really.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and it's lovely that everyone gathers up their, and I do, of course, we all
Yeah.
do, the recycling and that sort of thing.
yeah,
But literally, if they didn't eat meat,
yeah,
they could drive around in their Hummer and never stop and still have less of an impact.
yeah, exactly.
Although I don't recommend that
Well,
either.
no. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like it's about the thing that I like to connect with veganism that also doesn't get talked about is people within the vegan community, especially like talk about animal rights a lot, which I definitely agree with. That's why I did it.
Mhm.
People talk about the environment a lot, but it's also like I feel like it's more of just an all-around lifestyle. Like I think that veganism should be focused towards not eating GMOs, should be focused on urban gardening, should be focused on eating local as well. Like I just think that it's a whole view on life. It's
Well, I think it's interesting because it's taking a lot of thought. You put a lot of thought into non-GMOs, everything you put in your body,
yeah, exactly.
and on the opposite side, it's people who don't want to put thought into it.
Yeah,
And not that it's bad, because everyone who's a vegan, virtually everyone has been a big meat eater
yeah, exactly.
in their lives. But there is still that element of, let's not think about it. God, let's not think about it. I don't want to hear the thing.
Yeah.
But then it goes all the way to think about everything,
Yeah,
and it's important.
exactly.
So it is a lifestyle.
It is.
And in that way, you end up having tell us about the network you have from Nooch and from the people.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a really rad community, like just kind of people that are really involved with like activism or vegan business owners or whatever. Like there's kind of this huge network of people that, there's no organization with it, but we all kind of like have the same friends. We like meet people. We go to the same restaurants when we go to out of town and stuff like that. And like, for example, I was just in Lincoln, Nebraska, and there's this little vegetarian Mexican restaurant called Pepe's, and it's this little tiny place. And we walk in, and on the community board, he had a Nooch pin from our store and a thank you letter because he donated to our Kickstarter.
Oh,
So it was really cool because I didn't even realize that, like,
That's
he donated and all that stuff. So then I introduced myself. I was like, hey, I own Nooch. And he's like, oh, I'm Pepe. And, then we
Aw.
talked and he gave us free food. And, it was like, it's a really cool experience. And things like that happen all the time.
and it's kind of all over the United States. I know you're friends with the people
Yeah.
in Portland. And what's the name of their?
Food Fight. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
Food Fight Grocery in Portland. The day that we opened, the guy who owns Viva La Vegan, which is America's largest vegan grocery
Where's
store.
that?
It's in Rancho Cucamonga, California. And he called us on the day that we opened and congratulated us and like all this stuff. And this guy who owns a restaurant in Portland called Portobello, he Facebooked me the day before we opened, like, congratulations, and you're going to make Denver a better place and like all this stuff. And it's just really cool because people are so supportive of each other.
Well, it's so great now with the internet too. You can immediately, wherever you're traveling, you can immediately find a home anywhere,
Exactly.
basically in the United States, and as well as in other countries.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I had a friend that was going to Munich, and she was like, where am I going to eat in Munich? And then so I just looked it up on Happy Cow, which is like the website that's like basically a database for like vegan restaurants and stores. And so I looked up Munich for her, and there was like 12 vegan restaurants and 2 vegan stores and like a bunch of health food stores. I was like, it'll be fine.
Oh,
So yeah, it's cool. It's like great that those resources are there, so.
yeah, and it's because there's only 1% of people who are vegans.
Yeah.
just like any kind of minority, you really feel a kinship. You already know, and in that way too. It's so great for people to be able to come in here and know that everything's been vetted by you.
Yeah, definitely.
And you would not let them have one scintilla of grandma juice. Well, I call it grandma juice because people will say to me, "What? Well, you can just pick the meat out." And I go, "Well, would you want to pick grandma out of your?" And I don't know if you get that or not, but if you don't,
That's funny. That's the thing too, is like just kind of having a place where everybody wants to feel like they're part of a community or something like that. So it's nice to have a place like this, and that we're welcoming to everybody. You don't have to be. We have tons of people that come here that aren't vegan at all, and like we treat everybody the same. Like everybody, I know most people's names. Like I recommend products to people. Like, and I think that I've always had a kind of love for like small shops and stuff like that, and I think that it's great to be able to kind of be part of that.
Be a neighborhood grocery store.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of funny. I was telling somebody the other day, I have little panic attacks sometimes because I'm like, I feel like I'm unemployed all of a sudden. I'm like, wait, and then I'm like, oh wait, I work at my store.
Oh, because you love your life
I like my job so much.
It feels like you're not working.
Yeah, I don't get like stressed out to go to work or anything, so it's kind of funny.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah, so sometimes I'm like, wait, how? Oh wait, I'm getting a paycheck. Never mind.
And I love in the summer you open up the garage door and people just hang outside and inside. It's really a kind of a gathering spot for the neighborhood as well.
Yeah.
It's really awesome.
That was the whole idea for us.
So we've talked about how the first thing that can be a little bit of a problem becoming a vegan is being careful where you eat, eating out, that sort of thing. But what I notice here is you have lots of prepackaged food, burritos that are already made, so you can't get much more convenient than that.
Definitely.
Other things like that probably that you have that you can just eat for lunch.
Yeah.
Come in and...
Well, I think that kind of when I went vegan specifically, like I didn't cook a lot and I wasn't really interested in that, and I was just all about eating out. But I think it's getting a lot more friendly. Like, I don't know, you can go to Taco Bell and get vegan food. You can go to Subway and get vegan food now. Some Subways are even carrying like vegan meats now, like for their sandwiches.
That's huge.
And places like Chipotle, are making it really easy to be healthy and vegan while you're out. And there's a lot more awareness now. And a lot of times I won't even use the word vegan anymore, though. I'll just be like, can I just get that, and just kind of know myself. Sure. And there's a lot of resources now, like veganeatingout.com, where they just email fast food restaurants and different big chain restaurants and kind of ask what their vegan options are. And then, some places have a lot more than others. Like,
so you just plan a little in advance. And then even the meat eaters can have what they want in your group. And
totally.
And everyone gets what they want. Yeah. And mainly just sit around and have a great social time.
And the cool thing too is like a lot of my like meat eating friends are, they really like to try vegetarian and vegan food, and they're open to it. So I can go to like City O City, which is our vegetarian restaurant, or Watercourse, and we can go try different vegetarian restaurants around the country, and they actually really enjoy the food. There's a lot of options now.
So you didn't cook when you first became a vegan. Now are you cooking more?
Yeah, I actually I really enjoy it now. I actually really own cookbooks now, which is fun.
Wow.
Vegan Soul Kitchen is my favorite one from Terry Bryant. He's awesome. He's a big like urban garden activist as well as like a cookbook author. So I really appreciate that. I like connecting like eating locally with eating vegan. Like, because once like I said earlier, it's like all intertwined to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I at first I got into cooking because I wanted to taste things that I used to eat all the time. So I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna make a vegan Big Mac, or I'm gonna make a vegan barbecue sandwich, and like all this stuff. And now I'm just kind of like interested in like cooking vegetables differently. Like, okay, I want to try kale like this, or I want to try this kind of noodle bowl with like this veggie. So I don't know. It's it's just interesting to kind of play with.
And you're having fun with it. It sounds
exactly. And it's a blast.
Well, now there's so much in the culture where we have cooking shows, and people are really interested in having people over for dinner, and having it be part of the joy is the cooking. So you find that.
Yeah. And the thing I like about cooking too is like you can kind of, you know what's going in your food, and you know the ingredients, and kind of you're kind of more in control, and you can like experiment however you want. I rarely ever follow a recipe to the T. You know, I'm just like, I just look at it basically, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll just throw all these things in there. So
What's amazing to me too is that I cook for myself almost 100% of the time.
yeah,
I really don't go out at all. But when I make my food, and it's very simple, it takes maybe a couple minutes to make because I
Yeah.
plan ahead. Maybe I have the beans already cooked in the refrigerator.
totally.
But as I eat it, I literally have the experience of this is the most delicious thing I've ever eaten.
Yeah,
And I ask myself, is that really true? Is that true? And it absolutely is. I've never had anything so delicious.
yeah,
I don't know if it's my taste buds are different now or
Yeah.
what, but it's an emotional thing.
it is. It's interesting for sure.
So thanks so much for having us here. Here at Nooch Market, your baby, and it's beautiful and yummy. Thanks, we learned a lot. So, that was great. Come, check us out again at thatgood.tv for interviews that break the concrete of the mundane. Right here on thatgood.tv. See you next time.